What is good, everyone? This is your host, Deanna Radulescu with Label Free Podcast. To live your best life, you must live label free. Super excited. We've got a very cool guest with us today. She's joining us from Roswell, Georgia. She is a chiropractor, a podcast host, an author, and a beautiful mother. Please welcome Dr. Naeema. Dr. Naeema, thank you for joining us today. I'm so excited to have you here.
Thank you for having me. This is such an honor. I'm really, really excited about our conversation.
Me too. You wear a lot of different hats. So can you tell us, I really believe in going to a chiropractor. I think it's very important for the health of your body and all that stuff. But you also manage being a podcast host, a mom, and an author. So what do you want to start with first to talk to us about?
It's interesting because I was thinking about the other day, I am expanding my practice. And so we're adding another associate doctor, and it's my very first go round in this part of my season because I have been a solopreneur. It's just been me as the doctor, and then I have assistants who work with me. And so it's been a time of sort of stretching and growing and, finding all those uncomfortable spots and then, walking into it anyways. And so in thinking about, how it is that I show up in the world and the many hats that I think that we as women in general wear, but certainly if you raise your hand and say, I want to pursue more than I have before, there's this amazing sort of, opportunity for growth, but certainly can be really uncomfortable. I am first and foremost, I am a woman, and I am a woman who chooses hard things and looks for the opportunities for growth. And I'm excited about that because it really does sort of, encompass how I show up in the world. And I'm a mom of 3 beautiful grown children, recently an empty nester, really excited about them, being out, and, expanding themselves and, spreading their wings and whatnot. And my youngest is actually studying to be a pilot. So all pun intended with his wings. He just got his private pilot's license. So that's super cool. And I am a new author and sort of figuring out how to, be this, in the author space. And so I'm learning about that. And I think being, again, throwing your hat into different rings and saying, I want to be and expand a little bit more has been really just the calling of my life, probably for the last decade, but I'm happy to answer the call.
Yeah. Wow. That's a lot. So I don't even know where to start first. First of all, you look too young to have 3 children and you're an empty nester, way too young. Gorgeous.
Thank you so much.
Hats off to you for looking so amazing. But let's talk about this book a little bit because I saw the book and it's a memoir and you said it's a little, can you tell us a little bit about it and what it means to you and what it's about?
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. So the book is entitled Raised as a Lie, and the title is provocative for a reason. The cover of the book is provocative for a reason. And I think that it speaks so much to who I am and who I've become in the world. And I am a little brown girl growing up in an all-white family. I went to all-white schools and lived in all-white communities. And I was told that I too was white. Only the rub was that I knew that my skin color didn't match my family's, and they have very wild and curly hair, and it wasn't straight and blonde like my siblings or my cousins. And I did not understand about my differences. And I had an older sister who was hell-bent on never letting me forget that I was an outsider. But she did that very secretively, right? Like the adults around didn't know that she had made me her target and was terrorizing me. And so I grew up feeling very invisible. I was the elephant in the middle of the room that nobody was willing to talk about. And I internalized that. But I don't think that you realize that until much later, right? It wasn't until I was 49 and I had whole emotional meltdown over a relationship that had abruptly ended. And I didn't realize the impact, why that it was so devastating to me, and why I couldn't manage to put the pieces back together. And it was only in therapy that I realized that I had a lot of childhood trauma that was completely ignored by me. I pretended as if it didn't exist. I didn't give it any acknowledgement. And so I have been walking around the world as if I was invisible and it didn't matter. And so relationships that I was choosing were just a reflection of that. And when the last relationship, when he walked out, I again internalized it. And I believe that it was, my fault. But I think at 49, I had achieved all of these other successes. And at 49, I didn't understand how everything could be so wrong with me and still have these successes in my life. And I couldn't, there was so much divergence in my thought process that I couldn't sort of put the two back together. I think that the term is cognitive dissonance, right? Where your image of yourself and how you show up in the world is very different than what you're seeing. And it was in therapy that I was able to put those pieces back together. And in that process, or I should say, that process became a book. And that's pretty exciting to me now, to be on the other side of it, because healing was hard.
Heck yeah. Oh my gosh, so many questions. So man, that's intense, but like what a great story of your growth and getting through that hardship and that trauma. I think there's a lot of us have gone through some kind of childhood trauma, and whether we want to deal with it or not is really dependent on if we want to grow as a person. So bravo to you for that. I guess, does your family know that you were feeling that way during that time of your life?
So what I will say about that is I I believe that my family, specifically my mother, was doing the best that she could with what she knew and she had at the time. And she was also desperately trying to keep a secret. And in her secret keeping, I sort of became the injured party,
Yeah.
unintentionally, though, because what I believe in her heart was that she was trying to protect me. I was born in 71, and this is a time in our country's history that it was not acceptable. And it's certainly, my mother was Italian and grew up in, an Italian family and neighborhood, and right, like these were not times for which that interracial relationships were accepted and embraced. And I believe that in her heart, what she thought is that she was protecting me.
Yeah.
And in her trying to keep her secret, I end up sort of as the casualty. And it wasn't until I was nearly 18 when I found out. At that point, like, so much had been done. But what I really, truly just lived my life by was that I was loved. I knew that I was loved, despite my sister's, horrible tormenting. I knew that I was loved.
Yeah.
But there's a difference from being loved and being seen for
Yeah.
who you are. I believe that I needed to be somebody else in order to be loved. And that was the meaning that I had attached to my experience as a little girl. And so when it was when I decided that I was going to write this book, both of my parents are deceased, my grandparents are deceased, and my uncles and aunts are deceased, right? There's so many people that are not here anymore, that it allowed me the freedom. And with that freedom, it afforded me an opportunity to tell my story, because it is, in fact, my story. There's different versions of this exact same story. It depends on your perspective, right? So this is my story. And in me telling it, what I had the opportunity is to share my feelings and my thoughts and my perspective. What I hope is that I did not villainize anybody in my story, and that I tried to give voice to the devil's advocate, so to speak. And because so many of my family was deceased, it really, it didn't leave an impact now. Like oftentimes people are asked, well, what is your relationship now? And with the family members that I'm in communication with, I absolutely love and adore them. And I accept them for who they are. And I think that they do their very best to accept me for who I am.
What is good, everyone? This is your host, Deanna Radulescu with Label Free Podcast. Live your best life. You must live label free. Can we get a round of applause today? Woo! Today I'm excited to announce Manscaped launched their Ultra Premium Collection. Believe it or not, it's for your not so private parts. I'm talking about leveled up hygiene routine with your favorite manly scent. And let me tell you something. Oh, it smells so good. My man wears this every day. This is an all-in-one skin and hair care kit for the everyday man and covers you from head to toe. Manscaped is trusted below the waist. Now trust them with the rest. Join the 4 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped by going to manscaped.com and use the code LABELFREE20 for 20% off and free shipping. And enjoy. Well, I mean, you're obviously incredibly successful. So, I mean, regardless of what happened in your past, like that has nothing to do with the incredible woman that you've become today. And I think oftentimes that when we've experienced some kind of trauma, it makes us even more strong to go out and you know, accomplish great things. Cause you know, I too have gone through some stuff in the past. So I get it, but, wow. So I think that your story is beautiful, and it just is a testament to how strong we are inside and how we can overcome different things and not allow that to be a crutch to hold us back. You know what I mean? Where I think some people get into that woe is me, and they don't learn how to grow out of certain things that may have affected them long term. So what would you like to see with your book, and the kind of, what kind of impact do you want it to have?
I love that question, because to sort of add on to what your thoughts were just previous to the question, what I hope is that my story connects the readers to themselves, their history, their own experience, and my vulnerability, my willingness to lay it all on the table. What I hope is that it inspires others, specifically women, to find the parts in them that are still hurting and seek out ways to begin that healing process. What I truly believe is that our stories are the things that connect us. Maya Angelou said that we are more alike than we are different. And those differences are our stories. But if you look so closely, you can see how connected that we truly are. Our shared lived experiences allow for us to see each other truly and recognize the humanity in each other. And I think that that's the impact that I'd love for my story to be able to have when it goes out into the world and people are connecting with the stories that I told. They're then sharing and remembering and reminding themselves of truly the powerhouse and the incredible force that they are.
Yeah.
And in that, we all are aligned.
Yes. Beautiful. Welcome to your TED Talk. That needs to be turned into one. Jeez, for real.
Yes.
That was awesome.
Yes.
Oh yeah, our stories do connect us. That's why we're here today. Your story connected us together, and that's why we're sharing it with my audience, because it needs to be heard. And I think that it's very inspiring. And I think it's beautiful that you are able to be vulnerable like that and put yourself out there. And I'm finding with my podcast, the more vulnerable people are, the more success that they have in life and connecting with other people. And so I appreciate that about you sharing that. So what's next for you?
Oh gosh. So many things, but can I add one thing to what you just said about vulnerability?
Of course.
I believe what truly connects us to each other is our imperfections. It's this idea that you aren't untouchable, right? That you are real because of the flaws, because of the things that you've gone through, because of the rawness that you're willing to share on your podcast, because it allows other people to also be given the space and the safety to admit I'm not perfect.
Yeah.
I have screwed up. I've made some errors. I have ignored some things in my life. There are moments that I believe that I should have ... and
Yeah.
I didn't. And your willingness to put it out there for them allows for us all to grow. The name of my practice is Elevate Family Chiropractic, and the name of my podcast is Elevate Now. The word for me is it's a heart word. It's the word that's a verb, a calling, an assignment for me. Because what I hope truly is that every day I choose to rise and elevate how I am showing up in the world, who it is that I am becoming more of, right? Like we don't want to become less of who we are. We want to become more of who we are. We want to step into our fullness. We want to step into our potential. We want to be greater versions of ourselves. And I think that for me, that desire is what's propelling me forward. I'm actually really excited about this idea of being able to share this message and go out and speak to larger audiences of women who, like me, looked up one day and they weren't as successful as they thought they'd be, or as far along as they thought they would be in their journey, but knew that there was still a calling for them and still a desire and a hope. And that's the part that I want to connect with other women. I want to inspire and help transform your thinking and your mindset from I'm going to be small and live small to I'm going to live outrageously vulnerable. I'm going to live out loud. I'm going to seek to elevate my journey and my path simply so that I can connect and help others do the same. My belief is that that's what we're all here for, to give of our gifts, right? The world has nothing for us. We have everything for the world, and it's our responsibility to be able to bring forth the gifts. You got to figure out what those are, and then it's your job to go out and do that thing.
I love it. Woo! Yeah, you just set me on fire. Let's go. Oh my goodness, that was awesome. Oh, okay. Well, we're running, time is running out here. So where can people find you, support you, connect with you, all those good things?
Absolutely. Mostly I'm on Instagram. So it's Dr. Naeema Writes on Instagram. We do funny TikToks here and there. I really suck at that though. Like I'm not uber consistent. Like, let me not lie, not even a little bit. But I have a Dr. Naeema Facebook. And what I'm really excited is we're just finishing up drnaeema.com. And I'm excited because that's going to be the hub for everything, all of the, the videos and interviews and everything that I've done thus far. And, you'll be able to order the book and see what's coming up and really just sort of take this journey of vulnerability and elevating yourself along with us.
I love it. I will put all those links in the show notes, you guys. Do not hesitate to reach out. Follow her, go check out her podcast. I'll make sure I put that in the show notes as well. She is obviously lovely, very, very open with her story. And I don't know about you, but I fell in love with her. So I'm sure you did too. With that being said, before we say goodbye, any last words of wisdom or advice you'd like to leave with the audience?
Yes, I hope that in your day that you take some time out to simply be grateful. I think that gratitude is the great leverage for all of us. It allows us to remind us of our true blessings. There are always situations that can be worse than where you are at. Even when you're at your own lowest, I think that gratitude is what allows us to see the possibilities and the hope. So reach for gratitude whenever you can. Reach for gratitude.
Amen to that. Well, Dr. Naeema, thank you so much for being a guest today. It was lovely to connect with you and hear your story and share it with my audience. Keep us posted on any new. I think there's a lot in store for you coming up because you are a girl on fire, that's for sure. A woman on fire. But whatever.
Thank you. I'll take them both.
Yeah, right. You gotta be a girl sometimes. You gotta keep that.
Yes.
Going.
Yes.
Well, just keep us posted. Love to have you back to update the audience. Thank you again for sharing. You guys, this is your host, Deanna Radulescu with Label Free Podcast. Live your best life. You must live label free. Please don't forget to follow, subscribe, like, comment, share, all those good things. And I'll be back soon with more dynamic guests.